Welcome to the Evolving Expert Podcast, where we meet at the intersection of business strategy, conscious leadership, and aligned living to support who we each are becoming. I'm Vanessa Emerson, your host, and today we have a very special guest, a wonderful friend of our community and in my life. And thank you, Tim McNeely, for being here today. Tim, let me tell you a little bit about Tim. Tim is a wealth architect. Isn't that a cool title? A wealth architect. And I think that is so fitting. He is the founder of Lifestone Companies. And a little bit about Tim. After 25 years of helping entrepreneurs navigate major financial transitions, he hit a wall. Haven't we all hit a wall? And that same drive that built his career had quietly taken over his life. He had an honest reckoning at that moment that became the seed for his forthcoming book, not his first, but his next. Entrepreneurs Anonymous. I just love that title. And we're going to have to hear more about that. Today, Tim will explore with us what happens when high achievers, like all of us listening in here today, stop performing and start living. That already feels so much lighter. His work also sits at the intersection of conscious leadership, mindfulness, and aligned living. Just a little different angle that you come at it than we do at the Evolving Expert. And so lovely, the synchronicity. He helps driven people remember what they were building for in the first place. So thank you, Tim, for being here today with us.
Oh, it's such a joy to spend time with you, Vanessa. I always enjoy our conversations and the interesting dives and tangents that we can pull on. And that's what makes this so different and so much fun.
We do have a lot of fun. Well, let's start where we always start at the Evolving Expert Podcast. The first question we ask is always, do you have a favorite breath work or mindfulness exercise or habit that you can share with us that helps us like turn the corner on our day and drop into this space together?
Yeah, absolutely. So my favorite app and favorite breath work that I do is one called Pause. And, you know, I come from a Christian faith and Christian background. And so for me, the idea of pausing for a moment and realizing that God's in control, that he's got it all, and I can just stop working, because I like to work and you probably do too. And that moment of pausing and saying, you know what, for a moment, I'm going to surrender everything. I'm going to remember who's in control. I'm going to give all the things in my head. And you know what it's like to try to juggle all the things and just to pause and give it over. It's benevolent detachment is what I call it. And just this idea of giving everything over and pausing. So that's my absolute favorite breath work. I do it multiple times per day. Sometimes it's just 1 minute when I'm in the car getting ready to go somewhere, but just that idea of pausing and recognizing that actually I don't hold the world together.
I love that. I mean, really, that's meditative, right? So, because I think what I'm hearing you say is you like pause and you look inward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And remind yourself.
And release.
And release. Oh, do you find your release is tied to exhaling?
Oh, absolutely. The breathing, and this is what I think is so important about the breath work in the body is the things that we do physically actually work on the mental and the spiritual, right? We are one. We're connected that way. And the slow exhales is literally a giving over. It's a releasing of the tension, of your worries, of your stress, of everything that you're carrying for the day. And it allows me to move through the day at a little slower pace, a little bit calmer, and a little bit more relaxed.
Even just listening to you say that, I found myself exhaling and just noticing my shoulders wanted to like let loose a little, not so tight. And so like, oh, we got to hurry. It's time for that. Got to do this
Wild?
next. Yeah.
Yeah.
I often think about breath as being the one strategy that we have been employing or not from the moment of our birth all the way to the moment where we're no
Mm,
longer here. It's like there was breath with us every single second
yeah.
of our life. It really is powerful and it's free
Oh,
and it's available to all of us.
I love that thought that you just had, right? We've been deploying it, maybe consciously or
Or not.
unconsciously,
Yeah.
from the
Or
day of
not.
our birth, or not, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Somebody told me years ago, she's, how to explain her, she would be considered a spiritual leader, and she was teaching a course that she ended up touching base on like these ideas of mindfulness and breathing. And as she walked by me, I remember her putting her shoulder or tapping me on the shoulder. She was walking amongst everyone practicing their breath work, and she said, "This will change your life." Because as you could tell, I was wound pretty tight. So
mm.
that's a great place for us to start. Thank you for sharing that, the pause. And at first I thought you said, did you say an app? Do you have an app you use too? Or
It's an app. It's a free app. You can download it on the App Store. It's called Pause, and it's got a dozen meditations in there. It's got a program called 30 Days to Resilience, and resilience is kind of important too.
oh my gosh, yes. I'm totally going to look that up, but I'm going to do that later.
All
I
right,
made a note, pause. We always could use another mindfulness app. Thank you for that.
you're welcome.
Let's talk about business or career strategy. We like to start there with asking our guest experts, is there one specific business or career strategy that has helped you and how?
You know what? I have thought about this question, and I'm sure if you're listening, you've thought about this too. Like what's the single biggest thing that's had the most impact? And I could tell you it was the idea of figuring out a niche and serving dental entrepreneurs. I can maybe tell you it was the fact that I've surrounded myself with great coaches and really sought advice. Maybe I could tell you it's the fact that it's been really specializing in exit planning. But I think the singular consistent thing that has had the biggest impact has simply been showing up. And I know that may sound crazy. It's like, wait, what do you mean? That's so simple. But oftentimes, just showing up and being consistent is what wins the game because you can reach those points of frustration, of failure. Dude, I've been ready to throw in the towel so many times. I'd be lying if I said everything was great for the last 25 years. There have been so many times where I have been ready to say, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to sell the business. But that consistency and continuing to show up day after day after day in that discipline has literally been the best strategy I've ever done.
Boom. Yeah, that just hits me at multiple levels. Like there's the physically showing up when we say we're going to show up, and showing up for ourselves,
Yeah.
making a goal and not just blowing it off because nobody would know but us.
Mm-hmm.
You're one of the most positive people I know.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, you and Brandy Hooker Evans, when
Oh,
Brandy was on earlier and I told her the same thing, but seriously. And I think one of the things that is so impressive to me and memorable about you to me, and one of the things that really has endeared you to in my world to me personally is that I feel like you do show up. You don't just show up like you show up ready. You show up willing to
mm-hmm.
take on whatever is in front of you. And that's what I take from what you're sharing here is just that reminder that like put our big girl and boy undies on and show
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
especially as business owners.
Yeah. Well, and it hasn't always been that way, right? It's taken conscious work to get there. Many years ago, Dana and I had a coach, right? And that's the thing. If you show up consistently, the right people show up at the right times to help you. And I was working with a gentleman named Steve Sisler. He's a behaviorologist, leader in his field, and really a lot of neuroscience work that he does.
Mm.
And he had Dana and I start doing a very, very silly exercise because he could hear kind of some of the negative thought patterns that we had, and we couldn't recognize all the good things that were going on around us, and we couldn't really see all the wins that we had all the time. So here's a silly little exercise he had us do. You can do this too. And this is what helped train my mind to be more positive. But it's so simple, Vanessa. Like, look for all the things that you do every single day where you actually accomplish something. You and I, we got on a Zoom meeting, like, boom, fist bump.
I
Like,
know we both had tech trouble too,
right, but
right?
like,
We
we're
showed up.
here. We're like, dude, we nailed it. Like, you put gas in your car, celebrate it. You went out to dinner, like, you got out of bed, like, you took, like, and it
The dishes
sounds
are done.
simple. But as you learn to recognize those things and celebrate them, all of a sudden you start seeing all the other things you've won at too. But you got to
Yeah.
train your brain to do that. And so seriously, Dana and I, my wife, we'd run around for it's probably a year and a half. We'd just like run around like high-fiving each other when we did like stupid little things. And after
Oh,
about a year and a half, all of a sudden, our brains just started seeing these things. And we're like, I can't believe we get to do this. I can't believe we just like, and we started seeing the abundance that we live in. And it was like a light bulb went on and the world started looking so different. Now, we still have hard days. This is not a fix for everything, but that little simple hack really helped us start appreciating the world around us and has led to a lot of that positivity.
thank you for sharing that. I'm totally going to share that with Jeff, my partner,
Oh,
my husband as
would
well.
love it.
And shout out to Dana because Dana is the bomb. And I really hope we can have Dana on a future
Oh,
podcast as well because she's just a lovely human being. And as a dentist and business owner, I think she would have so much to share here. But I love that. I just really love that. I want to encourage everyone to employ that because it gamifies it, right? It
yeah.
really makes it fun. Love that. Before we leave this idea of business strategy, is there anything particular that beyond what we have already talked about that any key ideas, other key ideas you'd like for our listeners to walk away with?
Well, as a wealth architect, I would tell you the other business strategy that's so important for you to do, and this gets ignored all the time, is you got to pay yourself. You got to be building your financial house. Because as a business owner, most of your net worth, most of your equity is tied up in your business. And that's great. You create incredible businesses that have incredible valuations, but there's a lot of risk tied up in your business too. And the more that you build your wealth outside of your business, that leads to stability for you. So you're not worried about the cash flow as much. You're not worried about if something happens. You don't need that transaction to take place when you sell your business, right? The more you build up wealth outside of your business gives you the freedom to continue to invest and grow and build your business. So number one, show up. That's the best business strategy I can tell you. Just continue to fight the good fight, make changes where you have to. And then number two, build up your net worth outside of your business. Diversify, diversify, diversify. Absolutely invest in your business. You're going to get the best returns there ever, but build up that wealth outside of your business too.
Thank you for sharing that. That is a powerful strategy that we don't always think about. It makes me think about how you have your dental exit brief on Substack and how you write about these kind of strategies. This is your deal. This is what you do, right? Remind us the name of your first book.
First book, I wrote the forward to one called Becoming Seriously Wealthy, where we studied high net worth families, $20 million of net worth, and really studied the patterns that you can use no matter what you're worth. Second book was Dental Wealth Nation. Third book is High Value Exit, and coming out soon is Entrepreneurs Anonymous.
I love that you're writing so many books. That's fabulous. Really, and sharing this knowledge with entrepreneurs, and especially in the dental field, has been life-changing, I'm sure, for many. Thank you for that. And as a writer, that you are Substack. So we would find you on Substack. The Dental Exit Brief would be the name
Correct.
of your newsletter. Is that what we would call it on
Yeah,
Substack? Your
and that's something a
regular
little bit
publication?
different that I've been doing. The dental exit brief is literally a summary of high value transactions that are going on so that you can have market intelligence on what is happening in the dental world. We talk about private equity, we're talking about venture capital, we're talking about family offices, we're analyzing deals, but more importantly, we're taking that intelligence and distilling it down so you can use it as you continue to grow and build an institute. We publish that weekly, so it really is timely. And if you want to have your pulse on what's going on, that's where you want to check out the Dental Exit Brief.
Yeah. And something I find really wonderful about you providing this topic, Tim, is because I feel like you're not like threatening in a way
Hmm.
of people, at least for me, and I anticipate a lot of people feel like they don't always want to share the private. They may not be proud of where they're at. They only want to get somewhere else. I love that you make it
Hmm.
non-threatening and really just a service. It's a service to others. So thank you for that.
Welcome.
So Substack, it's the dental exitbrief.substack.com is where you'll find that. Let's talk about conscious leadership. I
Yeah.
love this topic of conscious leadership. So, question for you. Is there maybe one leadership moment that shaped you and how?
I would tell you the leadership moment that shaped me most, and you may identify this, and if you're listening, you probably identify this with this also. But us business owners, me, like I'm kind of a perfectionist. Like it's got like I can do it better than anyone else usually. And as a leader, it was hard to let go of that. It was hard to realize that actually 80% done by someone else is freaking awesome. It's so good. But I had to let go of that control. I had to let go of the micromanaging, and I had to learn how to trust others to do the job. And learning how to do that and not take control and actually trust people around me to do a trust fall, so to speak, to
Yeah.
fall back and say, I got the right people. It's going to be okay. And then even if they don't do it perfect, to say, thank you. That was great. That's amazing. Let's work on improving it, right? And really focusing on the outcomes and realizing like empowering people to do their job well is actually a lot of fun. And people want to do well. So let's give them opportunities to do well. I want to do well. And right, like I respond well when clients are like, "Hey Tim, thank you, but like, can we do this a little better?" Like I love that feedback, and I want to get better. So learning how to do that trust fall, rely on others, and let go of my need and my desire to control things has been monumentally huge.
I would say for most entrepreneurs, that many of us become entrepreneurs and really create a job for ourselves
Hmm.
versus growing a business and then bringing others in. So that's a really good point about
Yeah.
being able to find the right people, right? So that that they're the right, what's the word I'm trying to think, where it's not just skill level, but like they have the aptitude for what you're hoping that they'd be
Hmm.
able to learn to grow into, but then be able to trust. I love the trust fall in that. Um, is there anything else you feel called to share in the area of conscious leadership? Conscious leadership.
Right. It's about empowering people. It really is. It's about giving people the tools and then getting out of their way, right? You give them the training, you teach them what you want done, but then it really is trusting the team. So I'm a big proponent of AI, right? Like it helps me. I've got all these custom agents built, and I enter a lot of tasks into my computer all the time for my team. And one of the prompts that I use, right, I try to embody this, right? We talk about aligned living. So even in the prompts I use, one of the things I always say is I say, don't give my team step-by-step instructions of how to do this. Focus on the outcome and empower them.
Oh,
Focus on here's the end result that I want them to do, and then let them figure out how. I don't want to manage the process. Empower them. So it's like I actually put that into my AI prompts is empower my team. Don't micromanage them. Just focus on the outcome. Let them figure it out. And you know what? The results are pretty good.
that's fabulous. I mean, you've really become the AI king in our circle. And it happens so fast, doesn't it? I mean, relatively in the last like year or two of AI. I just love that you're using it at that level. Um,
It changes so fast, Vanessa. I've never had more fun with technology than what I'm having right now.
I love that. And there will always be the need for the human, especially with conscious leadership, right?
Yeah.
That ability to listen to our gut, to be able to tune in, to know if we're above or below the line, in or out of the flow, to be able to really read people and feel like, oh, there's something bothering Susan today. I'm going to
Yeah.
like try to support, like there's that side of it too. Conscious leadership is a really important and fascinating topic to ponder, isn't it? Like, how can I be more aligned as a leader?
Mhm.
Is there anything else we want to talk about there in the leadership before we talk about individually, like
Oh,
how do you stay in alignment? But as a leader, anything else?
I would tell you the other big part, and you just hit on this, Vanessa, is this idea of alignment, right? Alignment, right? Conscious leadership alignment, and one of the things that requires that's really hard for me to do, and maybe you to do if you're listening also, is radical honesty. Like you got to be able to look at yourself and say, where am I not in alignment? Where do I not embody these principles? Like where am I off the target?
Yeah,
And be able to be graceful with yourself, be kind to yourself, and love yourself, and say, yeah, I don't even meet the standards I set. How can I improve? How can I become more aligned with where I'm going, with what I want to share with the world? But that requires that radical honesty to admit, like, hey, I am failing in these areas. Like I actually don't do that piece well. Oh, I did try to grab that back from my team and try to micromanage. Like that's not like, but you got to have that radical honesty with yourself and with others.
yeah, yeah. Powerful. Um, I think it'd be awesome for you to teach a conscious leadership course in your spare time.
All right.
I feel like you have a lot to offer there, though, Tim,
Thank you.
seriously, and especially with working with so many entrepreneurs and business owners, too. I'm sure you've um, gathered a lot from that experience as well. Those leadership moments shape us as leaders, but also as individuals. And here in a minute, I'd love to talk more about aligned living, as an individual, as a human being. But before we go there, let me just do another shout out for where we can find out more about you and the work you're doing. I want to share your website is timmcneely.com. It's super simple. Is it? Yeah, TIMMCNEELY, just like we can see here on the Zoom screen, timmcneely.com. And then you can find Tim everywhere on social, right? So on LinkedIn, your name, Instagram, your name. Facebook your name. You made it easy. We've got YouTube. We've got the Dental Wealth Nation show on YouTube, TikTok, Tim McNeely HQ. So that one's just a little bit different. You know, I've never been on TikTok. I don't think I
Yeah.
ever will.
I,
Just at this point.
I don't even know what gets published there.
I don't know. I mean, there's so many
No.
socials. But I really love that you grabbed a hold of Substack. I just can't tell you how much I love that because
Mm,
I feel like Substack is where social is going in a lot of ways. It's long form journalism, and to be able to take, especially as speakers, so many people in our audience are speakers and thought leaders, and the ability to publish our works in a way more than just a social post, to be able to go to
mm,
Substack and publish a longer form journalism. I think that's really wonderful. So thank you
thank
for
you.
leading the charge there as well by really putting out a consistent Substack report. So aligned living. So we've talked about business strategy, a couple of ideas. We've talked about conscious leadership, a couple of ideas on how we can be more conscious as leaders, not just at the office as a employer or as a manager or supervisor, but also in our lives, how we can be more conscious leaders, which really brings us to aligned living. I'm wondering what that means to you. I think it means a little something to everyone. What does it mean to you living in alignment?
I would tell you living in alignment is really this idea that the actions that you take, the things that you do, the way you live out everything is consistent with the beliefs that you have internally. Because we all have these internal beliefs, but the question is, are we acting on them? Or are we living out in a way that's consistent with what we believe? Or in theological terms, does our orthodoxy, does the things we believe match our orthopraxy? Does it match our behaviors, right? Does our theology, does our belief match our actions? And oftentimes there's a big connect between what we believe versus what we do.
Yeah, that's true, right? Because we're human.
Hmm. Yeah.
And we may have a knowing with a belief system and values, but yet the human gets in the way.
Hmm.
our humanness, our ego. Thank you for, I love how you came at that. So are there any practices or philosophies that anchor you and your personal well-being and your ability to stay in alignment? Like, how do you lean in to that?
Yeah, right. I'm going to touch on that kind of radical honesty piece again, and I'll just get really vulnerable. One of the areas that I realized I am not living in alignment because I talk about true wealth. I talk about taking care of the people you love, the causes you care about, making an impact in the world, and to do that, you require your health. Right? Health helps you go a long, long way in that. And I have struggled with my weight for years. Right? I've been overweight. And for me, that's not a healthy place where I want to be. I can feel it in my energy levels. I can feel it in how I show up. And I realize like this is not consistent with who I want to be. This is not consistent with who I desire to be. And so you know what? I was out of alignment, Vanessa. 100%. I wasn't living up to the values that I had inside of my head. And I knew that. And it's been a journey. I continue to work on it and struggle towards it, but it's working, right? I'm living out the alignment and I'm also being honest with people about this and saying this is not who I desire to be. And here's the actions. Hold me accountable, right? I'm in mastermind groups where we have a group called the Healthy Entrepreneur, and we're texting each other back and forth all the time and sharing our exercise routines and what we're doing, right? So I'm looking and pressing into the community that can help me live out in that alignment with my stated beliefs. The other area where I don't have a lot of alignment and it keeps getting better and better is really the idea of making sure that I make time for the most important things first, making sure that Dana comes first all the time, making sure that when we're out to dinner, I'm not doing text and responding, like giving her the cell phone saying, we're going to leave this in the car when we go into dinner because there's nothing more important than you right now.
Mm.
And that's an area where I've struggled and I've had to build in discipline and I've had to build in constraints to make sure that I live in alignment. Because I can tell Dana, like, you matter more than anything else right now. But all of a sudden, the texts start flying in from someone like, I got to go deal with this thing. So just remove it. If it's really important, they're going to find me. But I have to build guardrails to make sure I'm living in alignment with those values.
That's really what, thank you for summarizing that so well, because that's really what we're talking about is having values and beliefs and measuring up. How do we initially determine those beliefs and values? Do you have anything to add there? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I would tell you that the values I mean, there's different places they get shaped from. They get shaped from the culture that you're brought up in. They get shaped from the beliefs that you have as a young child, and as you grow, they get shaped by the communities that you're part of. They get shaped by the faith that you're part of. And one of the crazy things about values is either they shift or they're standard for everyone. And now we're in a whole nother area, but those are really where our beliefs come from. It's going to be our faith, it's going to be our communities, it's going to be our upbringing, and it's going to be our experiences that shape our values. And as we press against the world, you're going to get different results, and you're going to say, "Oh, maybe this value I have of taking as much as I can get and living in scarcity, maybe that's not a good value because it doesn't
Yeah.
give results." And so part of it is also trial and error.
That's exactly where I was going. Thank you. I appreciate that you took it there because I was going in my mind, I was like, well, then how do we, when we realize those values that were instilled in us by parents and community and faith and all that as kids, as you become an adult and you're out working in the world, you start realizing like, maybe I don't really think that. Like maybe like for me as a vegan, like maybe I don't really want to eat animals,
Yeah.
like as somebody who's a cat sanctuary owner, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like we shift. And so I wondered what you thought about like the struggle there and then also the ability, is that part of what shapes us into the being in alignment? Because I recognize for me, and I'm not saying anybody else has to be vegan, I'm just saying for me, it didn't work to eat animals. But not till I was in my 50s
Yeah.
before I really looked at it. So like that's just one example of a belief system that I realized that's not really authentic for me.
Yeah.
You have thoughts
Well,
on that?
yeah. Well, and that's kind of interesting too, Vanessa, because right. That was very much a trial and error thing that you found, right? You were trying to fix health, to figure out what makes you feel good and makes you feel vibrant. And you worked out like, hey, this eating meat like doesn't work for you. And you know what? Everyone's different. I have other friends that are vegan too, and they thrive on that diet. Right? Everyone has different requirements, and that's kind of a value, but it's also really just learning what works. As opposed to, right, I would put it in a value system when someone says, you know what, I don't eat meat because I am opposed to
That's it for
harming of
me.
animals, right?
That's it for
That's a
me.
little
Yeah.
bit different
And that's what I'm saying. It's
than,
like a lot, the alignment piece, like
yes,
the alignment wasn't right there
exactly.
for me.
Hmm.
And so that's one example. I can see where people that are raised in a certain faith and then as they're older, they're like, no, I don't think I really want to do this. I think this is more in alignment with what makes sense to me. It
Hmm.
feels like there's some struggle in there. And I wonder if you have words of wisdom. I'm like, we're like totally off the ranch.
Yeah.
We're just like taking our topic in this other direction of, do you feel like there's something there that around guidance on helping people be true to who they be, and those values?
I can't go here without dropping in the religious piece because for me you need a North Star. You
Yeah.
need something that is unchanging. You need something outside of yourself, and you need a standard that you did not invent that you cannot change.
Yeah.
Because if the standard of values rests with me, well, that's like a ship without a rudder. I can change directions every which way. But if you have an eternal, unchanging standard that you're aiming towards, that wasn't invented by you, but that was given by the creator of the entire universe, like that's what I want to run after. Is I want to run after unchanging standards that don't depend on Tim McNeely figuring it out.
It really
That
does help you
requires
make
trust.
decisions, doesn't it? That's thank you for taking it here
Yeah.
because I love this. We don't really talk religion here,
Mhm.
but as much as like whatever works for our listener, like their faith is what we're
Yeah.
talking about, right? So it's so important to have that. I found as a parent and as when my children were younger and major things would happen, like pets would die or family members were sick and eventually dying, or like those big things that happen. It was so helpful to be able to have a belief system to help explain that. And then I
Yeah.
think there's so much every day around that belief system that's where we go back to, are we always living in alignment? Are we telling the truth? Are we
Mhm.
being kind? Are we being compassionate? Those
Yeah.
like those like more mundane values that are so important, which wraps us back to where we started with your answer of what practices we have to stay in alignment and
Yeah.
really holding up a mirror to, am I acting in a way of something that I believe I would want to be acting?
And as we talk about this a little bit more, I think the other thing that I would share with all of you listening is part of the alignment is figuring out what story you are in, right? We as humans are wired to understand story and narrative. And so the question is, what is the story that you are living in? What is the story that you're telling yourself? Because that story is going to define the actions that you take. And so get really clear about what story you are actually living out. And there's a great book, author named Donald Miller. The book's called A Million Miles in a Thousand Years. And it is a great narrative on really the power of story. And you all may know Donald Miller. He's the guy who wrote Story Brand and Business Made Simple. But some of his earlier writings, specifically that Million Miles in a Thousand Years, is a great narrative tell about the power of storytelling and your ability to write a better story for yourself. Because if you can get a hold of the narrative that you live in, that creates alignment.
Mm, thank you for that. Boy, we've covered a lot of ground, and this has been a lot of fun to hang with you as it always is. Is there anything else before we wrap up that you would want to summarize with, or for our listeners to take away today?
I think we've had an amazing conversation. I know we've had an amazing conversation. This has been fun sharing with you, with your audience, and all the listeners out there. I would encourage you, look for that alignment, right? Create true wealth. True wealth isn't about how much money you have in your bank account. True wealth is your ability to take care of the people you love, support the causes you care about, and make a meaningful impact in the universe. And if you find yourself in that story where it really is one of service and serving others, everything else starts falling in line. But you need that North Star. You got to track after it, and you got to be clear about what story you're in. And as you figure out your story, the alignment will fall in place if you're radically honest and you have the courage to admit where you're not holding up to your own standards. But pride gets in the way. Like my pride gets in the way on that, Vanessa, because I don't like to admit my faults. But the more we do that, the more you'll find grace from the communities that you're in and the people you're around. They will hold you accountable and they will lift you up, and you will go so much further with others.
Tim, thank you. So well said. You're an incredible speaker. I know from having heard you speak multiple times, but here, and I mean, I'm just caught up in what you're saying here. I'm like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
what am I going to say next? Because I'm like, oh yes, 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 yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for bringing your light and shining your light here with
Mhm.
us. Thank you for lifting us today and bringing so many pearls of wisdom that will we can take going forward. TimMcNeely.com. We've given anywhere on social, look for Tim McNeely and you'll be able to find it. If you are a business owner, especially in dentistry, I want to encourage you to reach out to Tim to find out how he can help you stay in alignment with your goals and your visions and help you reach them. And I just, one more time, want to thank you for being here today, Tim, and for shining your light with us. And I hope you'll come back again. We'll love to do this again with you in the
I,
future.
I would love to. This has been so much fun, and I love the work that you're doing, Vanessa, because you are filling a gap in our industry, which is really the human side of entrepreneurship. It's being able to slow down and have these conversations because too often we're too busy talking strategy. We're too busy figuring out what our next marketing game plan is and how to book our next speed. Those are all really important, and you should do those things. But I love that you create space for us to slow down and actually have conversations and work on our underlying health. So important. And thank you for the work that you do.
Mm. A reminder, thank you, Tim. A reminder to everyone, like and subscribe. We'd love for you to leave a review. And when you like and subscribe, it helps us help others discover this podcast. The like and share, I should say, and subscribe. So again, timmcneely.com. Thank you, Tim, for being here. And we will see you guys again in 2 weeks for our next episode of the Evolving Expert podcast. Thank you so much for listening in. Bye. Be well.